I'd like to invite the Woolly Project to the stage. Welcome, Rebecca and Benedict.
Hi. My name is Rebecca. I am the director of this film, and I am named after my father's favorite sheep. And next to me is producer Benedicte Bredesen. I grew up on a small farm in the north of Norway together with my family and 100 sheep. And now the farm will transfer to the next generation, from my father to my little sister Rakel. One of the most important things my father told me when I was a child is this: you should only keep the number of animals that you have time to look into the eyes of every day. Only then you can be sure they're all doing well. Let's watch the trailer. Her har jeg vokst opp på et lite småbruk i Nordland. Denne gården har vært familien min i 3 generasjoner, og nå har min lillesøster Rakel bestemt seg for å flytte hjem og ta over gården etter pappa.
Hvorfor gjorde du selv på Rakel et anlegg for å drive med gården?
Jeg skjønner da hun var 8 år og skulle ned i stakkene for å bli lag. Den videre drift av bruket overlates til vår datter Rakel Karoline Sætervik Nystebakk og hustru Ida Nilsdøyne.
Nei, vi kan vel si at vi skal gjøre så godt som vi kan.
Og i morgen er din dag igjen.
Ja.
Er det litt godt over i en frase, hovedansvaret?
Ja, det er det. 40 år i sånn jobb, det er en sånn jobb.
Det er viktig for meg hvordan forhold jeg har til dyrene. De skal ha et navn, og jeg skal kjenne dem, og jeg er opptatt av hvordan de er. Hva gjør hun for oss?
Pappa, du må få. Kasimir er kjempedårlig. Og mamma og pappa er ute, men det lurte om du kunne komme også.
Det er jo veldig noe annet som først er det her, alt det her uten hånd, og uten at han er med og hjelper til. Så det er jo avhengig av å tjene til å være avhengig av en positiv til. Det er sånn det fungerer. Du har legger inn et veldig godt kort til månedens medarbeider.
Er du klar å ta en sau i hagen?
Nei, Nora. Hvis ikke du har sau, så har du ingen problem. Hvis du har hundesau, så har du ingen problem. Det er jo overlivet. Det er et sånt ansvar som man bærer med seg til.
Hva er det artigste med å drive med sau?
Nei, det artigste med å drive med sau er jo sau.
Family life will be the central arc of the film. The main storyline will be based on the relationship between my sister and my father and the transfer of knowledge from one generation to another. We will also follow my sister and her wife, Ida, and see how their relationship and newly found lifestyle will prove to meet many surprising challenges, hard work, and truly magic moments. Many people would maybe claim that this kind of farming belongs to a bygone time. But when I asked my sister if she could really see this kind of farming as part of the future, she said, "Rebecca, this is the future. because I know how to make food by using the resources I have around me, and that will never be old-fashioned.
And the last years, the politicians have put pressure on the farmers in order to make them operate on a larger scale. And this has led to many small farms being closed down. And all over the world, the small farms are struggling to survive, even though the UN claims that smaller farms are more sustainable than the bigger ones. Topsoil is being depleted or is overgrown, soil which has been cultivated for hundreds of years. The pandemic has revealed our world's vulnerability. Our food security is not guaranteed. And now the terrible war in Ukraine, a war between two of the world's biggest producers of grain, is making the situation for future food production even more difficult. How will we be able to secure sufficient supplies of food in the future? And how will we ensure this food is cultivated in a way that provides security for future generations as well? We want the film to inspire the audience and to create understanding about the ethical and environmental aspects of our food decisions, and also to value the work of the farmer. We want decision makers, both governmental and corporate, to support the small-scale farmers and commit to make locally produced food available for the consumers. And by that, make small-scale farming a viable career path for future generations. We are looking for international partners who are engaged in these issues and can work together with us to finance and build an impact strategy and get the film out. Thank you.
Thank you so much for such a clear and concise pitch. Where are you in your production process, would you say?
We are now finished development phase, so we are applying now for funding for production, so we will start editing in January, and we hope to release the film early 24.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So there's a lot to come, a lot more filming to do. And you're at an amazing stage to kind of start thinking about the possibilities around impact and how that might also affect your story too. And I guess I'd love to invite thoughts from our guests here in the audience, particularly Laura, I'm thinking about you, working with food, whether you've had any reflections on this film and how it could be useful to kind of stimulate conversations around the sustainability of food production. Could I ask you to speak up a little bit?
Yeah, I can be louder. So yeah, of course, this is the main kind of impact, I suppose, and also the tradition and the culture that plays into the sustainable food systems of the future. I would like to be cheeky, maybe, because I'm also having this this kind of conversation with a lot of people around me and in my work, which I work in a food development company, research and development company. And what would you say to the vegans of of Norway, for example, that totally, I mean, even though it's local and it's kind of small scale, very traditional way of producing food, it would still, you would find probably some hard-headed environmentalists that would just say, meat is the, kind of thing of the past. And you kind of mentioned it a little bit, so I just wanted you maybe to elaborate on this and whether how you would kind of go around this argument, which is quite useful, especially not useful, but usual here in the Arctic, especially.
Interesting question. Yeah, you need the microphone. I don't know whether you covered this. Did it come up in a workshop yesterday, or have you thought about it in your reflections so far?
Yeah, well, of course, I think, of course, there is a lot of people that choose to not eat meat, and I can totally understand that. I think a part of the question around people that eat meat, I also think that we should all eat less meat, and when we eat meat, I think we should consider what kind of meat and how it's produced. I think I would say as part of the environmental theme, a lot of the, like these sheep that we will get to know and see, they're also part of keeping the landscape open, and that is also a good thing for the environment. That things are, they're eating the grass and it's growing again, and that is also something that is good for the environment. So it's a part of a balance. It's a part of a balanced nature. And I would also say that a part of the discussion should be like eating local. I could also eat avocados from the other side of the world. I don't think that it would be a better idea than eating local meat if it's produced in a ethical and environmentally friendly way. But of course, this is a big and complex theme, and I think that should also be a part of the discussion in the impact work that we do. That I mean, there is no easy answer to a complex question. So I think if we say no and yes in a too easy way, I think we'll miss a lot of important themes on the way. But yeah.
That's a great answer. No, it's a beautiful answer. Having seen the trailer, it's an exquisite trailer and really beautifully realised. Having thought a little bit about the kind of the asks or the kind of vision that you have for Impact, who would you say the audiences are that you'd really like to see? Obviously, there's film festival audiences, and obviously TV audiences if it gets picked up for broadcast. But beyond that, are there specific types of groups of audiences you'd like to reach, where you think Impact could really kind of have its most powerful effect?
We've just started thinking about this, but first we do think this will appeal to a wide audience, and that's because it deals with issues beyond agriculture. It's about making important life choices, about transfer of knowledge, and being part of a long tradition. But we have defined some targeted audiences group, and it's first the small farming communities, those who are directly affected by it. And then we have the audience that support these affected groups. We have an older audience, which kind of respond to this way of living, the slower life. We have climate activists and animal rights activists, which will sympathize. And then we kind of have the tactical audience, which is policymakers, point of sales decision, and also kind of, we have this, in Norway it's called a cultural backpack, maybe. We travel in schools, and we can maybe teach or inspire the young people to reflect on these topics, and also maybe consider to choose this as a path career.
I've not heard about cultural backpack, but that's lovely.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Amy, I'd just like to ask for a few reflections from you, just in terms of where you see the possibilities might be in terms of the pathways to reaching the audiences that Benedicta has just outlined. I'm just going to get you a mic, I think. You might need one. Just for those people who are here who may not know so much about how impact campaigns can work and how the possibilities...
Well, I think Thomas can also talk to this, but there was something that I thought was really beautiful in the film that you haven't talked about so far, which was the music, and how your sister is a musician, and it was, she still is a musician, and she's a farmer, and I think the use of music is a really interesting component of this, and I'd love for you to share a little bit more about that to the audience as well.
And I just wanted to add, there was something that you spoke of yesterday, which was the amount of food waste that's happened, especially since the invasion of Ukraine. And you told me this story of the carrots that were left to rot in the ground because the fuel prices were so high, and they produced them in such a quantity that they couldn't store them. And I think that mass level of food production has its own drawbacks in situations like that, and I think that's a really strong argument for the small-scale farming and producing what you need and consuming what you need, the scale of food waste that goes on.
Yeah, so it's an interesting counterpoint to kind of really prevalent issues of the day. If you'd like to speak about the music, and then we'll come to...
Yeah, very quickly. So my sister is educated as a composer and musician, and then she completely turned around, brought her wife with her to the north of Norway to become a sheep farmer. And of course that is a big switch, especially for a wife that suddenly understood that a life with Rakel is also a life with sheep. And she, but that we also have some amazing material on her as a musician, where we can see her play, we can hear this is her music, and she will, together with another composer, Raimond Enoksen, will make the music for the film. So we will have her in 2 different levels, and that will also maybe be possible to make arrangements like screenings, maybe a concert, maybe selling of local vegetable and meat, or and I think there is a great opportunity to make like different kind of meeting points and also different kinds of audiences.
In a more immersive and holistic way. Actually.
Yes, yes.
That sounds great. I'm just conscious of time. I just think we should hear. Could you introduce yourself? Yes,
my name is Christine and I'm a medical doctor, and I just wanted to add on the mass production, the nutrients in the soil, because there are studies showing that we have less nutrients today than we did. There are not many, but they exist, and we're seeing all these food supplements and vitamins and everything that people are taking, and sometimes deficiencies in people who are eating a very healthy, varied diet. So that's something new also to consider.
Just a comment on that, they also find that sheep that has been grazing, eating grass, has a more healthy meat than sheep that have been eating only grain or this substitute food. So, again, it's a very complex question, but I think this is information that is important for us to know and to make good choices when we buy our own food.
Definitely.
And I just I don't know if there is a quick comment to Christian's comment, but I think also the vulnerability that we see now for the very big farms. For example, in Norway, the electricity prices are very high, and suddenly they can't afford storing their own food, and it's thrown away in tons and tons and tons. Where the small-scale farms are maybe a little bit more robust, resilient in that way. So now we see the big changes of the world, the climate changes, everything will make it harder to make food, and we need more people doing that on smaller scale, I would say.
Amazing. So through actually what seems like a small, really human story about your family, all these huge issues are being unpacked and give the film potential to travel to all sorts of different types of audiences as a kind of conversation stimulus. I wish we had more time to chat, but one last comment here. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for a really nice presentation. I work at the Icelandic Forestry Association, so it's not exactly linked, but in Iceland we've had for many decades some issues between sheep farmers and forest. And 2 weeks ago I was attending the Hretir, which is the gathering of the sheep, and it happened that the farmers were also forest farmers, because in Iceland we have this program in sort of encouraging people to also have forests on their land. And I think it's really beautiful to see your movie, because we see so many trees close to the sheep and so on. And I was in the forestry sector in Iceland, we've always found inspiration from Norway. There has been lots of exchange, and I was wondering if you were considering campaigning in Iceland as well.
And would you consider coming on board as a partner with the film?
That would be interesting, at least to have this sheep and forest presentation together.
Let's just hear possibilities and then.
Yeah, I think that is very interesting. In this case, we have the possibility of, there is a lot of mountains and woods and forests that the sheep are walking around the whole summer, 4 months of the year, just freely around in the woods. So there is, in this case, we have both very close to us. And I think, I don't know the situation here that much, but it would be very interesting to make some meeting points and hear what are the possibilities, what are the challenges. I think for us it's important that this is a film about future and hope, and to make new ideas come true, and to take choices, to make your own choices. To make the farm more sustainable, and to build on the nature's premises. So I think that will be something that we can find everywhere, and it would be interesting to hear more about the situation here and how we can, maybe there is some discussions that we could make together with the screening, or I think it's
great. we'll make the conversation continue later this afternoon or in the future. Thank you so much for your presentation. So great. From sheep to orangutans, I'm going to welcome Malika and Marianne to present palm oil in the land of the orangutans. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Marianne, this is Malika, and we are from Copenhagen Film Company in Denmark. And our film, Palm Oil in the Land of Orangutan, is a film about the palm oil industry, obviously. And it's also a film about new solutions and about hope, as the previous film was. It's a filmic contribution to the debate on the ways that we address climate changes and environmental challenges. Basically, it's the story about how a random encounter on a plane in 2007 led to a collaboration between the Copenhagen Zoo and the Asian-based palm oil plantation, United Plantation. The palm oil industry is notorious for cutting down the rainforest and for driving animals such as the orangutans towards extinction. But this unusual partnership, actually between two guys named Carl, both of them, wants to change that. And together with the staff at the United Plantation, they have emerged on a journey to change the way palm oil production is produced. By using science and nature itself, they want to create sustainable production methods that will benefit not only nature, but also the local people and the company shareholders, all at the same time. We have a teaser, not a trailer, and it's important to say that the teaser is presenting the solutions, but it's not at all representative of the visual style or the tone or the music that will be in the finished film.
Stop the palm oil company. I'm working as a manager, biodiversity division. We want to make sure the oil palm business is not just an oil palm, but they also care with environment.
This area also have got a number of orangutans. We know there's a few females here that actually is, or they are reproducing, which is great. The leopard cats are actually keeping rats down on a very low level. The fewer rats there are, the more diverse the species would be.
All cobras are rodent eaters. That's their favorite food. They will eat toads, they will eat frogs, but rats are very, very high on their interest.
Since 2012, we don't use any more chemical for rat. Pest control work very well in this plantation because we have a good combination between the oil palm and conservation. That's the point, I think.
There's much more which has to be done, and there's much more which must be done.
It's only the beginning.
Look, let's put the cap away for a while and then create synergy rather than adversaries out of it.
Marianne said, this is a film about hope, it's a film about solutions, and it's about how we can make changes now and in the future. And above all, this film is meant to show that things can change, and they are changing for the better. It's meant to show that there can be a middle ground between mindless consumerism and merciless boycotting. It's to show that we, us, all of us, those of us who want a better world, we are part of the problem. And we need to see the complexity and the nuances, that we can still be idealistic and work with what we have. And that there are more options than we think. We want to rally everyone who can to vote, impact, and participate every time we buy groceries, and to twist the arms of the industry to become more sustainable. We want to inspire those capable of action to understand the necessity and the benefit of these partnerships on all sides of the table. But more than anything, we especially want to make the industries aware of these benefits, not just environmentally, but financially, of making these partnerships and changing the trajectory of their production by prioritizing innovative methods and substitutions. And this film is about palm oil, but the mindset applies to all industries and businesses. And it's trying to say that making money does not have to be mutually exclusive to preserving and caring for our planet. The solutions are out there. There is hope. We would love to hear thoughts and opinions, and even names of organizations, businesses, or media that you think would be interested or helpful in our project. Thank you.
Solutions when it comes to the environmental crisis. Where are you in your production?
We are actually in production, and Dan Sale, who's the director of the film, he's been filming for 11 years now. 11 years. And they just came back from Indonesia filming, but we had a sort of delay of 2 years because of Corona. So we actually just now got access to the plantation again. But the film is fully funded in Denmark, and we will launch on Earth Day in 2024.
Great, and are you planning a festival run for that?
It depends. It's funded by the Novo Foundation, so we have an obligation to them as well to sort of fulfill the call that they have supported us.
Great, and when it comes to Carl and Carl's journey to uplift this new way of working that finds a balance between commerce and sustainability.
They call it balance between ecology and economy.
Okay. Is there foundational work happening in that area already in terms of like uplifting that way of working?
Do you mean impact work? Or? Yeah. We of course the Copenhagen Zoo will use the film. They have a lot of business partners like sponsors, and they will use it in their events. And we have a Danish NGO called Crossing Borders who will make 10 workshops with young people from Denmark. And we have a science club for children who will use not the film, but we will be making a YouTube game as well with with the footage from the plantation.
So you're quite a long way down.
In Denmark we are, because that was a sort of demand from the Novo Nordic Foundation.
Yeah, but internationally,
that's what we're here for.
Yeah. So, like, does anyone here have thoughts or ideas you'd like to contribute to this team in terms of organisations they should work with, thoughts or reflections on this project as it currently stands?
Yeah, I can speak up. Yeah, just
can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is.
Hi, thank you. It's a wonderful idea and brilliant that you've been doing it for so long. I just have one idea in regards of institutions or whatever. There's an institution here in Iceland that's called the Institution of Sustainability or something like that. And we've been trying to develop this conversation of nature-based solutions by trying to get experts from all different fields to talk together. And this example is brilliant, and I'm sure there's institutions like that all over and trying to link them all up and use this as a case study would be very good, just to get it into the academia.
Katrin, could you just introduce yourself?
My name is Katrin Oddsdottir. Thank you. I don't know why I'm here, but I have my kids. There's no school today, so.
Brilliant. Other thoughts, ideas? Anyone like to come in for some reflections? I'm looking at the front row here. Oh, Sylvie. Yeah, okay.
So you said the teaser isn't indicative of the overall tone and style of the film. Can you just speak about what your vision is and what you see the cinematography design looking like in the end?
So neither of us are actually the director. He just got back from Borneo yesterday. But it is his vision to make it a very beautiful cinematic contribution and beautiful film that is meant to make us fall in love with the rainforest and all the creatures and the people in it. I don't know if that's too vague. This is very solution-oriented, and the film is going to be too, but it's also going to be very cinematic.
I think it's important to Dan not to show, of course he will show some of the negative effects of palm oil production, but he wants this film to be a film of hope and positivity and looking forward instead of looking back. So I think he wants the beauty of the rainforest and beauty of nature to be sort of speak together with the solutions to speak his message, if you might say so.
Oh, Sylvie.
The Biomimicry Institute, they do very, very important work using lessons from nature to bring about changes. A very scientific based. Jennifer, I forget her last name, but they're really people who could be interesting to work with. Biomimicry Institute.
Biomimicry. Okay, thank you. Laura.
I'm just being really annoying here. I'm just going to ask a difficult question again. Yeah, I am. I love the idea. Let's just start with that. And I think it's definitely like a nature-based solution, and a lot can be learned from it. I was just wondering if you have any ideas of how to, whether you're working with any, the filmmakers are working with any certifications, or how to kind of make this palm oil stand out from the market, and to prevent this from becoming kind of greenwashing for the rest of the palm oil that's maybe not so sustainably produced. How this wouldn't be so, oh look, this is so good now, we're all doing this, which is probably not the truth. So yeah, I just wanted your thoughts on this.
Thank you, that's a great question.
There is actually an organization called the Round Table of Sustainable Palm Oil Production, and the Carl Beck Nielsen, the owner of the plantation, is vice chairman, I think. And he's aware of the problem because there is greenwashing in the palm oil industry. And he's not naive, and we are not naive, but we believe that the Copenhagen Zoo is sort of like a validator, can you say that, for the seriousness of the project. And what they are doing at the Palm United Plantation, they're documenting everything. They make white papers, they make sustainability reports every year, sort of to motivate the rest of the industry to follow. Yeah, but that's the work being done in RSPO as well. But there are a lot of, I think it's only 5 or 10% of the palm oil industry who is a member of the RSPO, so that's a big problem. And at the moment, more sustainable palm oil is produced than the market demands. So that's why we want the consumers to start demanding sustainable palm oil. It is. And then the sustainable produced palm oil is sold as conventional, and they will get less money for their palm oil. So that's not very motivating. So we have to start acting and start asking our supermarkets and politicians to only sell sustainably produced
Definitely, but actually there's a really good indication of a kind of a project where the kind of impact that you want to make is kind of structural impact, and that's the hardest impact to make because it's like where the really deep change needs to happen. Tommy and Amy, you are experts in making structural kind of impact, which is kind of like shifting things at EU level. And I wondered your thought. I mean, there's so much we could talk about in terms of potential for this project, but what are your thoughts in terms of how it could be useful, probably particularly at the kind of decision maker level, whether that's business or policy? Do you want a mic, actually?
So there is so much that I could say in response to that, but I think I will pick out the point around creativity, because as Sylvie said it so well, it's so important to have the creative project. And I know we didn't get to fully see the creative art, and I would definitely encourage you for pitches in the future, maybe to include a comment from your director on, so we can get more of a sense of the full creative vision for what there is. But also, it's so wonderful that you have so many different formats and pieces of this that you're considering together. And definitely when you're looking for ways to engage with the political spaces or with very busy business spaces and business people who don't want to take a huge amount of time out of their day to watch an entire feature film, I think this is certainly a piece where it's really exciting and interesting to consider how you can use the creativity to come up with different formats and to do cut down pieces, to have social media, kind of short videos, and definitely I think this is a piece where it's not fragmentation to have so many different parts of the creativity, but there isn't, it doesn't have to always be a feature documentary. It doesn't have to be that to create the impact, and short films are having, I think, a renaissance now, to be honest, as well, and with so many different distribution opportunities, that's, I think, a key thing to think about is to consider what the right creative format is for this piece to achieve the impact that you want to do with it as well.
That's a really, really great point. Thank you. Was that an indication you wanted to say something?
You were requesting from the front row, and of course I see three things through the lens of health. And both films, it's very important concerning health and the effects of how we are growing things and doing things. But also what you're showing, I have a simplistic view. I'm an accident and emergency physician. Our existence and health are based on connection to ourselves, to others, and to our environment. And both of the films were showing the connection to animals, which is important. And this is a big opportunity, because with all of these lifestyle diseases that we are having, health is always going to be an issue, and ultimately money saving, the healthier food we're eating and the healthier life we're living. So I think there are opportunities there. And we just had yesterday kind of a founding meeting in the Doctors Association here in Iceland. The doctors, kind of a grassroots, starting to form a group concerning environmental issues. So there are, groups here and there, and I just wish to remind you about health. I think there are great opportunities there also.
That's a really great point, and I think that speaks directly to the point that Amy made about short form content and the ways to think about reaching your target audiences that are not just necessary through the long form story piece. I think we should move on. Sorry, we could keep on talking, but thank you so much for From orangutans to lynxes. I'm delighted to welcome Juha and Helena to come and share Lynxman.
100 years ago, lynxes became extinct in Finland. 7 years ago, I met a man who told me that he can talk with them. 7 years later, after 156 filming trips, I still haven't seen any, but this guy, amazing one, has the Lynxman. Let's have the trailer, please. This was my part.
Mitä hyvät titiätä? Kisuli.
Voi luoja, mulla on yhteys, hei. Kiistaton. Voi riskus. Tää on järkyttävä. Ihana.
We need to change our point of view to see more. This film is not about the typical wildlife scene where a man is looking at animals. They are looking and talking to us also. The main character in this film is a man called Hannu, the lynxman, who lives in an idleness after severe accident. But one day he finds a dead lynx, and he knows they are trying to come back. Hannu was filled with excitement, and he set forest cameras into the forest, and those cameras soon revealed the marvelous life of the forest. And this is the world where Hannu wants to belong. First half of the film, we create an expectation, Hannu's metamorphosis, trying to get closer to the lynxes. And second half shows the intensive dialogue between man and nature. Hannu's story will be told by messages he's sending via forest cameras to the lynxes. But Hannu has a soon conflict with local hunters, but this conflict reflects also Hannu's inner conflicts to be part of the human society and the shared values of being above nature. Hannu's best friend is named Joseppi, but Joseppi dies in skin disease and disappears. And this is the very moment when Hannu truly understands the value of an animal as a fellow traveler. We need to create new ways of seeing another way of awareness to survive. Time is running out, but there is still some hope to meet each other. Everybody loves cats, right? But do you know why? It's not the biological facts, it's the sense of connection and to be one and the same. This emotional connection saved Hannu. And this is why you want to see the cats as well.
Thank you, Johan. The story of lynxes in Finland is a success story of protection and coexistence. Once almost extinct, lynx came back, and the Finnish lynx population has become stronger since the lynx game protected species, and it has now spread all over to Finland. And also the attitudes towards lynxes are quite positive. However, there is still work to do in Finland also. Despite of this protection status, almost every fifth lynx is killed annually with a special permit. With this film and with Hannu as our guide, we want to make lynxes and their situation visible. And we also want to reveal and remind about that kind of secret life that is happening around us. Our impact strategy starting point internationally is to support and show positive example of protection and coexistence with humans and lynxes. Nationally, our goal is to have an impact on decision making concerning these special hunting permits, and we want to minimize those permits, number of those permits. Our goal is also to raise awareness and start discussions about new kind of sustainable human-nature relationship and coexistence with wildlife as a fellow travelers. Hannu's close and straightforward relationship with his backyard's nature gets us think about our own relationship with nature and our role as a part of it. We hope that people are reconnected with the nature in their own backyard and take action to enjoy and protect their nature neighbors. For achieving our goals, our partners could be, for example, organizations and projects that are working with wildlife conservation or sustainable human-nature relationship. Partners could also be from business sector, nature tourism, art, science, whoever wants to inspire people to reconnect with the nature. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just love the way that you flip the perspective in the way the gaze to nature. Nature's looking back at Hannu, and actually in a way looking back at us too. And the kind of how we're all connecting to nature is kind of really provoked. Our reflection on how we're connecting to nature is really provoked through seeing that trailer. I have to ask you though, did Hannu shoot all that night footage himself, or did you shoot it with him? Like, what's this? Just, I know that's not about impact, but I'm just dying to know.
Everybody can do it. I mean, shooting with the trail cams, you can buy them. And Hannu is doing many of those footages, but also I could, even though I haven't seen them. So those cameras are working as a middleman between them and us in a very, very new way. This is a wildlife film 2.0.
I mean, totally. And where are you in your production timeline?
Good question. We are in process, in production, and today I will get a shopping list from the editor. She's at the moment somewhere there in 60 minutes, rough cut.
Okay, great.
And we are heading somewhere there between 75, 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And when do you hope to launch? Next year?
The sound editing starts right after the cutting, and then till the end of this year we are more or less ready with the film. Mm-hmm. And then little by little starting to find a festival premiere somewhere. Scandinavia, maybe Iceland.
Maybe.
Scandinavian premiere.
Great, thank you. So I would like to open up conversation with people in the room. Does anyone? Okay. thoughts, reflections, ideas about how this film would...
Yeah, thank you. I really look forward to seeing that movie. It looks really interesting. I come from France and we have lots of issues with hunting, so I can only imagine how it is in Finland. It must be quite tense. And so I guess the main goal would be to reach those hunters, to make them understand this perspective. And I was wondering, how are you intending to reach them in your campaign? I guess that must be quite the talent.
I hear you. My last film was called Wolfman. That was even trickier. So this is an easy piece compared to that. Everybody loves lynxes, but people don't know that they are so heavily hunted. And the more we expose the life of them, the more understanding will come also hunters' side. I think it would be very beneficial for them not to hunt lynxes anymore that much, because I think the media publicity at the moment already is not that good for them. But on the other hand, the gadgets what we are using for filming those cats I've never seen are the same which hunters do. And we show also the other way to look at those footages through the emotional connection based on Hannu's voiceover and feelings, and that turns the whole hunting idea upside down. The more we know about them, the harder it is to kill them. And inside the Hunters Union, of course, I want to have them to look at the film. And I think, of course, this is a matter of narration, which we are carefully thinking from the hunter's side as well. There are, shotguns coming, but still we are doing it. The learning lesson is done very delicately and directly, so we don't accuse straightforward. That's of course narration. But you are right. The more hunters are seeing this, we are also thinking about impact campaign to do with them. I don't know how, but I hope this will take place. It's a challenge, yeah. I know. Lynxes are trying to get closer to us everywhere in Europe. So internationally, this is also the challenge, a good one. We have to make it somehow.
Because the thing about hunters also, they're not, I don't want to stereotype, but it's not typical for someone who's into hunting to come to a documentary film festival, right? So in a way, it's about getting the film to those audiences, which is a kind of a really interesting kind of thing to conceive of. Are lynxes protected across Europe?
Yeah, that's a paradox. They are protected and they are hunted heavily.
Okay.
And they are hunted for fun. That's even worse, if you ask me. It's nice to hunt them. That's the reason they are killed. There are no ecological nor ethical reason to do that. Okay. So this is, in that sense, I would recommend hunters not to do it so heavy.
It's also interesting to switch the perspective, because you're not hunting the lynxes, but you're hunting for images. So it could be interesting to work with photographers, for example, who are also sort of doing the same, but not as a movie. Just a thought I had.
Well, exactly. I think it also ties in a lot with rewilding and the whole rewilding movement too, which is a kind of really interesting thing. Other people in the room, would anyone else like to contribute reflections? Meds, thank you. Will you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Mats. I'm the head of program at CPH Docs in Copenhagen. It's a documentary film festival. It's in March. Please send me the film. I really loved what I saw. It looks almost supernatural and mythological, like in this quest for this mysterious, semi-invisible animal. I think also, because it's so quite particular to one place and to one animal and to this strange relationship, there's a strength in that, because it doesn't look like any other film out there. And any film is of course an occasion to talk about something more general. So by being specific, there's a sort of like a potential from there to go to go more abstract, or to perspectivize. I mean, as I said in a panel I was on yesterday, we don't have any nature in Denmark. It's all parking lots. Yeah. So I think people there would really appreciate to see a film that really shows us like a completely different scale, completely different relationships. So looking forward and good luck.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Yeah.
Just a very short, the film is beautiful, and another one to add in your festival is My Friend the Octopus, for any that have not seen it. It's this beautiful connection.
Yeah, it's not enough film about connecting with nature. Other people. Sylvia, I'm looking at you. I don't know what. Do you have a comment? Would you like to share a reflection? As someone who's made a lot of films about the environment.
I mean, I loved what I saw, just like you know, it's like there's an emotional connection. And I think of, like, for example, people who work with horses and therapy, where, you know, people learn about themselves through the connection with the horse because they have a fear. So there's something there maybe that can be examined with regards to our fear of animals and how basically we are still part of that same nature. We come from them. So that would be my only comment.
Yeah. Oh, and Tommy too.
I just wanted to add that the timing of this is quite interesting, especially from a UK perspective, because the reintroduction of the lynx has been a big topic, and it's very timely. And as the lynx is rolling predators, as we discussed this yesterday, kind of an indicator of the health of the rest of the forest as well. And so I think you mentioned that there could be potential for fundraising for a protected forest, a lynx forest, as an example of some sort of impact action that would not only protect the lynx but all of the wildlife within it. And I think it's important to note that the footage that you've got is not just of lynxes. It shows the magic of the badgers, the moose, the elk, everything else. And so it's fostering an appreciation of the nature that you can find in your backyard. And I think that flipping of these products that are used by hunters, these trail cams, suddenly being turned by everybody putting them in their back garden to love nature, that would be quite an important shift in the way these products are used, and I think that'd be quite powerful.
I think so, and philosophically too, it speaks a lot to our relationship with nature and the way in which we actually need to rethink our connection. So thank you for an amazing project. Any final comment?
I have Iceland horses around me in very close to the city of Thunder. It's possible. Thank you.
Great. Okay, from Lynxman to Whale Mysteries, Beata and Peter, welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Peter. I'm the Danish producer of this project, and this is Bjarne, my Norwegian colleague and co-producer. As you can see here, we are broadcasting live from Interstellar. This is Voyager 2. We sent it up from Cape Canaveral in 1977. It contains a lot of stuff from planet Earth, but one of them is gold plates with sounds and images from the human race. There will be babies crying, there will be music from the Beatles, and there will be whale songs. And then you think, whale songs? Why is that in outer space? But one day when the UFO is parking aside this one and take out those plates and put it on the space recorder, they will hear the songs from the deep oceans on planet Earth, which is kind of interesting. Because we know more about what's happened on, for instance, on Mars, that is happening down in the blue and dark oceans. But at least we want to tell E.T. and his friends what we're doing down here on Earth. 2 weeks ago, there was an incident on Tasmania, Australia. More than 200 whales were swimming onto the beach and committed collective suicide. That happens more and more often all over the world. Thousands of whales die every year on beaches all around the world. In our film, The Whale Mystery, our protagonist, Klaus Thymann, he will solve the mystery about what is going on with those whales. People who come from commercial photographing will know Klaus. He's a world-famous photographer. He's a deep-sea diver, and he's a scientist. And he's obsessed about finding out what's happening, about solving the mystery about the whales. So let's see our promo, please.
It's sadly not an unusual occurrence. A pod of around 230 pilot whales became stranded on Ocean Beach in the Australian state of Tasmania.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. I just wanted to ask if you have sightings of beluga whales.
I really want to go out and explore and see this and listen to them and be around them. I want to make friends with them. For me, it's a journey of finding myself. I have to understand why I really, really love them. Can you do anything to charm the whales to come here? Yeah, a little bit of singing helps. You have not heard my singing. It's coming this way. Oh, it's beautiful.
We have a curious one, that is not bad.
That's really good. For the past 15 years, I've been working on climate change. And I have to say, I'm beyond fed up with any more awareness. We don't need more awareness. I think I love the whales more than I love the people.
Yes, me too.
Yeah?
Yeah, they're singing and beautiful. The movement, so elegant.
But what have we humans done to these creatures?
Remains one of nature's most heartbreaking mysteries.
Because now they're killing themselves in large numbers.
Mass stranding of whales have been reported from various parts of the world.
Collective suicides on beaches.
Nobody knows exactly why all these mortalities and strandings are happening.
There are a number of serious
Reasons range from noise pollution to solar storms.
Military sonar.
The point is, we don't know enough about why they're doing what they're doing.
We need to solve the mystery of what we've done to them, to the oceans, to then progress humanity.
A way to solve this mystery is actually to sacrifice some of these whales.
Might have a situation. We have a diver under the ice. I see him.
I really want to solve this mystery.
We found a hole in the ice, that's the only reason why we're talking now.
But do I want to give my life for it?
So, the whale mystery raises the question of how well we know our own planet. It asks us what we see when we look in the mirror, But as you saw, it's also an entertaining film about a scientist gone rogue, taking huge risks in order to fulfill his own personal quest. We've made a number of documentaries over the years, and our experience is that when we release this kind of creative films, we've released them all over the world, and that creates a space for discussion and room for positive change on many levels. We have support now from Film Institute and we have some development support from international funders. We have a good relationship to broadcasters. One of them is here today. And we are here basically looking for partners and friends who would be interested in following our journey and our process, and who can use the film, our main character, our whales, and all the interest that the film generates in a constructive and meaningful way. Thank you.
Thank you. Great trailer. Quick question, probably not a very quick answer. What would you like to achieve as a result of this film going out into the world? Is there a change that you'd like it to make, or that Klaus would like it to make?
Well, Klaus thinks that if we succeed with this, this will be start of climate change 2.2.0. So he wants this to be, if we understand what we are doing, if his theory is right, that if we understand what we are doing to the whales, we understand much more what we're doing to the planet. And nobody's really figured out why these whales are doing the strandings.
So no one really knows.
Nobody knows yet, but people are working on it. But we would like more people to work on it. But I think for us, it's also about looking ourselves in the mirror just as much as the scientific changes. And I think that for filmmakers, we need to do our role as good as possible, as well as possible to make a film, and try to find people who can use all this attention and knowledge that the film creates.
That's amazing. It opens up all sorts of opportunities for discussions and conversations, and ultimately impact from the scientific community as well as other decision makers to kind of get to an answer. How fascinating. And where are you in your production timeline?
Well, that's a good question. We are in production, and we are also financing at the same time.
Okay.
We have support from Creative Europe, co-production support with Iceland, Norway, Denmark.
Oh,
and we have
Iceland's in.
Yes, Iceland's in. Iceland's in, sitting down there. Yes, we are filming now, and we have some. It's a journey, because when you open one door, another one is open, and Klaus has his theory. It's backed up by scientists on the University in Stockholm. It's complicated to explain what it is about here. But he's convinced that he will find out what's happened with him. We are not that convinced, but it's an interesting. No, but it's going to be an interesting travel, and to be honest, it's not really important, at least for us, that he is solving the mystery. The important thing is to get the discussion.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. Interesting. So you're on the ride with Klaus as producers. When do you think the film is going to be finished, or are you actually open at this point to kind of find a natural pause in
2 years?
Yes. Okay, that's good. Helpful to know. What would you like from the audience today? How can anyone here help you? Ideas?
Like we said, we are looking for friends and partners, basically, at this point, and that's why we're out in the world talking about the film right now.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Would anyone like to offer any reflections or thoughts, ideas? Tommy.
I just wanted to say that this idea of climate change 2.0, because we're realizing more and more that climate change is not just emissions, and I think you showed that, the effect that military sonar is having, the effects of noise pollution in the ocean. There's so many things that we don't understand, but we're plowing ahead anyway with unaware of the consequences. And there's this issue of the burden of proof, instead of us having to prove that something is dangerous to wildlife in order to stop it, should it be the other way around, in that they have to prove that it's environmentally safe before they enact in these major projects. And that's an argument I've read about in articles. I'm not an expert on that at all, but I think this conversation about everything outside of emissions really lends itself to that talk of climate change 2.0, and I just thought that I'd throw that thought out there.
Thank you.
I'd just follow that up by saying proof is actually really key here. And there's, you're making a big statement in the film to say, this is what we have done to them. And really my take-home message for you would be to get scientists to provide research and backup and evidence for every type of these claims. You need a scientific community who are proving his theory or disproving his theory, or saying that his theory is interesting while it has no scientific basis. At the moment, we have no scientific basis for anything else. So whatever it is, you need the scientific community around you, because otherwise there's a huge risk that he just gets massively discredited as a totally rogue, mad scientist, and then your entire film gets massively discredited. So as a risk assessment point, I think you've got so many things there, but you need to be engaging some scientists and getting them to come around this film in some way.
There's a big link with Quebec. We've been having whales or dolphins who have been swimming to the city, getting lost, coming from the Gulf of St. Lawrence. And there's a big team of scientists who have been working on whales and dolphins for like 30 years. And veterinarians at the University of Montreal who do that, who analyze when we find them dead on the shore. So we haven't had these mass suicides, but we're having them coming to the city. And so of course people are interested. It's the big news all of a sudden. In the harbor you can go and see. So there's a big connection with Quebec, and I would maybe consider seeing if I couldn't release it in the cinemas as a distributor in Quebec, because there's a definite interest there. And the kinds of films that I've done have worked in the theaters. They can last for 3 weeks, 5 weeks. So let's talk.
Thanks, Sylvie. I think it's just so emotive, kind of like the mass. Okay, last project today is an Icelandic project called Skrud. And I would like to welcome Ruth to the stage to tell you all about it.
Hello. I am Ruth. I'm a director and one of 2 fishermen on a small fishing boat, Skuld. Skuld is also the name of a documentary about my partner and myself, a young couple, and how we risk our financial situation and relationship when we follow in the footsteps of our ancestors, buy a boat and start working as independent fishermen on our small fishing boat, Skuld, around the coast of Iceland. This is during a time while the industry faces many challenges and runs the risk of disappearing completely. The fishing method involves using a line and a hook, which is exactly the same as generations before us. The fish in the ocean around us and this type of fishing made the colonization of Iceland possible, and it can therefore be said that it's the nation's oldest industry. This industry of small fishing boats, where a single person goes out to his local fishing grounds to fish, has declined in the 21st century, and there is great uncertainty about its future. The fishing system is very limited, the fishermen are getting older and fewer with each passing season, and it's difficult for newcomers to enter the field. Therefore, it is not only our financial situation that's dependent on the fishing season's success, but its outcome is also an indicator of whether the small fishing boat industry has a future in Iceland. Now, roll the teaser, please.
Reykjavík 7339, Brottfjörður Rifi.
ógeðslega næs vinna, þú veist, þetta er bara eins og að vera að vinna við að stunda núvitund eða eitthvað. Sérstaklega í dag, það var bara sko rjóma blíða, alveg slett sko. Hvað er það glæðið?
Vá, hvað það var ömurlegt. Þú veist ekki hversu ömurlegt þetta var. Þú veist ekki hversu vont veður ég var hana. Það sagði, hættu nú alveg.
Bílir eru dálítið stór hluti af þessu sko. Það er nú ekki nema hálf vinnan að eiga bát að róa. En lífið væri leiðilegt að það var ekkert vesen.
Bílmaðurbátur, hann er ekki einu svona skemmtibátur. Hann er eiginlega mjög svona leiðilegur bátur. Ekki fiskibátur, ekki ferja, ekki neitt, hann er bara leiðilegur.
Það þarf að koma fiskur um borðið henni bát.
Á morgun.
Kan vi ikke sætte bakker?
Han drejer den. Du er det. Du kører om her. Du kører om her.
It is sad to think that this industry can easily collapse completely, and the knowledge that it has been gathered throughout the centuries would then be lost. Not to mention the access to freshly caught fish from your local fishermen. This would not only be sad in a cultural sense, but also because this type of fishing is the most environmentally friendly way to catch fish. The small boat burns very little oil, and the hook and line leaves no mark on the fishing ground. When compared to the big trawlers, the difference in impact is huge. The film tells a small story, a modern-day love story, if you will, that's meant to spark interest in the bigger story and the cultural and economical value it has. It puts the spotlight on how the life of an independent fisherman is, in the hope of tearing down the stereotypes of an old, grumpy man on a boat, and to create mass awareness and understanding and a shift in public attitudes. I feel it's important to do this before it's too late and the last independent fisherman retires, and with it centuries of tradition and knowledge will be lost. With the film, I want to remind the public that this industry is taking a hit, to create awareness that the access to freshly caught fish from the local fishermen is something that we might not have much longer the way things are evolving. But most importantly, I want politicians and people in charge of the country and the fishing system to wake up and see how important it is to the general public today to know where and how their fish is caught, the environmental impact their consumption has, and to use the basic human rights that it is to catch the fish in the ocean surrounding us. According to the law, the fish in the ocean around us belongs to us. But does it really? So I invite everybody interested or connected to the topic to a conversation on how we can work on this together to create awareness and fight for the human right of catching our fish. Because the saying is definitely true in this case, it takes a village. Thank you.
Thank you for such an amazing project. I have to ask you, how did you and your partner get into fishing?
Well, my partner grew up in a small fishing village in the Westfjords in Iceland. So if you grow up in a village like this, it's almost like a demand to be a fisherman at some point in time. So he has been doing this from time to time since he was just like a kid, almost. I'm a photographer, and but my family is filled with fishermen. But it's nothing special in Iceland. It's like every Icelander has like a, I'm guessing like a grandfather or a great grandfather that was a fisherman. So we don't have to go far to find the connection. Yeah, but it was also just like a random thing that we suddenly had just bought a boat and started doing this, also out of curiosity.
How often do you go fishing?
The fishing season is from May until August. It's only during the summer. And yeah, we're allowed to go fishing 12 days a month in the system, but only during this summer season.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not allowed more because of the big companies.
Interesting.
They own all the fishing rights, almost like all the fishing rights.
So the opportunity for the independent fishermen is very limited.
Exactly.
Thank you for filling me in. In terms of opportunities for this film, I would love to hear from people in the audience. Your thoughts, your reflections. I'd like to invite feedback about how this film could be useful to generate conversations and impact around the issues that the film tackles regarding the sustainability of fishing. Thank you. Katrine.
Thank you. Hi, Ruth. Thank you. Yes, my name is Katrin, and I also am like the chairperson of the Icelandic Constitutional Society, which is a small NGO fighting for the new constitution of Iceland. And for me, obviously coming from that direction, those two things are very linked. The fact that we haven't got the constitution that we voted on back in 2012, which actually explicitly states that the nation is the owner of the natural resources, which would make it much easier for struggles like this to be maybe framed and fought for in the court system. So I would think that you needed to provide some sort of political, framing towards like exactly what is the problem. Because what you see is a beautiful film about two people, and that's lovely. But I do feel like it needs to be, like you were explaining now, like the quota system and how it's actually, 30 families in Iceland basically own the fish in the sea. That's the case. And we all know it, but we can't change it. Despite the majority of the public demanding it every year in every survey, the parliament is unable to actually fix this. And the film could be an excellent case study of how this comes down to ordinary people having to fight a really hard struggle to maintain this really cultural, important job in Iceland. So I would suggest, of course, because I always would suggest linking it to the new constitution and that struggle. But in any way, somehow finding a way to frame it very simply towards the elites. And that is a global struggle, the elite versus the people. Thank you.
So it sounds like, Katrin, this is a conversation that probably could evolve beyond today in terms of what the collaboration that could happen. Had you thought about including that angle?
Well, the film, we just spoke about this yesterday with Amy, because the film narrative is like a personal story. It's a personal story of our fishing season, and we're not like all the time talking about like the quota system and like stuff like that. So the film narrative is a personal story, but the impact narrative or the impact story is like wrapped around it. So you don't get all this information from the film, but I'm hoping to like. When I put the spotlight on this industry, that people like will want to talk about it, because like when as soon as you start talking about the quota system or the fishing rights and stuff like this, Icelanders get like they cannot hear about it because they're traumatized like generations from this. So my hope was to just cast a light on it, tell hopefully a fun, beautiful story, and spark interest among people to talk about it, and then like this discussion can continue.
But it's a great example of actually kind of being aware of the wider context and the wider politics surrounding the very simple story that sits in the middle of this. Can you actually kind of construct an even more compelling, more relevant story that's going to speak to the kind of broader system that it sits within? So
yeah, I would like to have somebody like a corporation, like an ally, to do this, because
and that's the role for an impact producer, right? Isn't it? So it frees you up to do the creative piece and the storytelling, and actually to have someone, a collaborator, to do that would kind of enable a wider context to kind of truly be appreciated.
Yeah. Well, My partner, Christian, he's like, he grew up in the Westfjords, Flateyri, and at this dinner table they were talking about the quota system like every day. So he grew up with the quota system. I'm like, I cannot hear about the quota system. So he's like, he really wanted to do like a political, like a propaganda film. Yeah, but I was like, no, we're doing like a small personal story. Okay. But he's really like into this discussion. Yeah.
And if he and Katrin can be in dialogue. Okay. Other thoughts? I think, Laura?
Yeah, I thought that this was very similar in some ways with the woolly pitch. It's just a different context, but it's also about local resources, the kind of not diversifying, going to your roots, and just kind of contributing to this food system that was in the past but could be in the future. I think one of the ways to frame this as well, without getting very large-scale political, would also be appeal to the environmental side of things, as you have done. It's the most sustainable way. It would be interesting maybe to look at the environmental impacts from the kind of kilogram of fish that you produce as compared to the big ships. I don't know. Of course, you need some information from both sides, but that's something that it maybe could be kind of galvanizing for the consumers as well. Kind of have this kind of making it more kind of increasing the demand for this kind of fish, because it is really hard actually living in Iceland to get a fish from a local fisherman. It's almost like you really have to go look for it, and then you're not even sure where it came from. So, and maybe a question: how did you get permission to fish? Did you have some quota from your husband, from your partner's family, or how is this? How do you get your hands on fish in Iceland these days if you wanted to become a fisherman?
But it's a great point, because actually maybe it's a film that could kind of help create demand around independent fishing.
The first thing was with the facts. You wanted to have the facts. If my partner was here, he's like really good with the facts, but it's like, the difference is huge, like the amount of oil that is used for each kilo of fish caught like this versus fish caught in a big trawlers. It's like, it was crazy. I don't have the numbers, so I won't like say anything too loud. Yeah, and there are lots of researchers, and it's like obvious. Yeah, I don't have them, but yeah. The quota, no, we don't have quota. We're not like quota family. They're like Katrin said, there are like maybe 5 families or something that have quota in Iceland. But this fishing system, it's like a special fishing system it was started in 2009 or something, because of the European court or something told the Icelandic people that they were breaking like human rights, that Icelanders were supposed to be allowed to go and catch the fish in the ocean. So there they put this fishing system on, and in the system we can only like fish from May till August, and like only like a certain amount of fish each time.
Great. I'm conscious of time. It's an amazing project and there's so much potential. I hadn't asked you, where are you in your production cycle?
Yeah, we finished all the filming and it's being edited.
Oh, great. You're quite far down the line.
Yeah, we're close to a rough cut.
Uh-huh.
Next week we'll record music. My partner is like a hobby singer-songwriter. He's the composer.
Nice.
So we're recording next week, and yeah, close to a rock.
And so when do you hope to launch? I'm looking at Mads.
Winter.
Winter?
Yeah.
Next year?
Yeah, like spring, the latest.
Next spring? Great,
Thumbs
that's
up.
a thumbs up. I'll let you talk later. Thank you for a lovely presentation. I wish you all the very best for the project. It's amazing.